Mark Austin here for a special Sky News Daily as it's revealed that the King has cancer. Joining me to go through what we know so far and the significance of it all is our royal correspondent, Rhiannon Mills, and also our royal commentator, Alastair Bruce. Rhiannon, first of all, what do we know?
Well, I think it's worth going through the quite long statement that Buckingham Palace have sent through at about 6 o'clock this evening, saying that during the King's recent hospital procedure for benign prostate enlargement, a separate issue of concern was noted. They go on to say that subsequent diagnostic tests have identified a form of cancer. They also tell us that today, His Majesty commenced a schedule of regular treatments, during which time he's been advised by his doctors to postpone any public-facing duties. They also say that throughout this period, His Majesty is going to continue to undertake state business and official paperwork, so that means things like the red boxes, and speaking to the Prime Minister. They also say the King is grateful to his medical team for their swift intervention, which was made possible thanks to his recent hospital procedure. And I think also this is a really important one they keep stressing, is that he remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. I have to say, though, this statement did come as a bit of a shock this evening. We saw him yesterday at Sandringham walking to church. The first thing I thought was, well, he seems to be doing pretty well after having that prostate procedure. But yeah, now we have this confirmation that actually His Majesty is being treated for a different form of cancer. It's also worth noting what they haven't told us. They haven't told us specifically what kind of cancer it is. They have stressed it's not prostate cancer. They haven't said what stage of cancer it is. And also they are not going into any details about what specific treatment he's having either.
No. And Alastair, what do you make of how much we're being told, or how little we're being told for that matter?
Well, it's a remarkable change from the time of Queen Elizabeth II, when I think because of her upbringing, well, you didn't really talk about anything like that. And you kept your personal issues to yourself. This is very different. The King is much more emotional. He recognises that the nation communicates much more about things, and indeed is encouraging people to, through this announcement, go and find out for yourselves that you're all right, and also making sure that, you know, he's not hiding away because he's got cancer, and making sure that other people feel the confidence of dealing with their diagnosis and getting the treatment that they need. You see, the King, I think, is finding his own way to lead. And the leadership that he proposed or hoped that he would be able to dedicate his first years as sovereign to doing has, in a way, it would seem, been taken from him by this diagnosis. But in the announcement, the King is very much leading by expressing that perhaps through all this good medicine and by being honest with everybody and making sure that you gather your family and your friends and perhaps an encouraging nation around you, just get on and get yourself better. So huge change in the way in which the Crown is deciding to communicate about medical situations.
Rhiannon, the statement says His Majesty has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation, but the inevitable reality is, in this day and age, speculation there will be.
What stands out is they clearly wanted to own this announcement and take control of it as much as possible. You can't forget the world that we live in now, social media, potential leaks from the palace as well. So I think it was so important that they were able to control the way that they announced this. As you say, though, people are inevitably going to speculate. I think that's inevitable. But in some ways, it does feel a bit like a sort of deal has been done. I think the palace and the monarch are basically saying, look, we are sharing this amount of information with you now, but as an offset, we want to make sure that you don't send the cameras around to try and get pictures of the King going for his treatment or going on a walk at one of his residences. We want you to now allow him that time to rest, to have the treatment that he needs, and we will update you as and when we think it is appropriate. But as Alastair was saying there, I remember numerous times standing outside of hospitals, especially for Prince Philip, and just talking about procedures, not having any idea what was going on. This is a different level. But we know the King has been delighted that the fact that he shared that he was having this procedure for an enlarged prostate has caused so many people now to go online and have a look about what that means. And I think that's also what he's trying to do with this is encourage people to come forward, get checked if they need to, and also say, look, my family is just like your family.
And Alastair, how do you think he will deal with this, cope with this?
I think he'll find it very aggravating, actually. I think after a lifetime preparing to be the steady central keel to the nation as it constitutionally moves forward, and he had plans, I think, to interpret the way his mother, the late Queen, had done it and to do it his own way. He can't now do it quite as he was hoping. And yet I expect through his positivity and through his energy, he will find a way of overcoming this. I think for those who work for the King, phone calls are frequent and he's on top of everything. And I dare say he's going to have to try and hold back a bit from that in order to give his body the time it will need to heal from the treatments he's going to face. And perhaps his household may find some relief from that reduction in the amount of frenetic phoning, endless paper writing, desire to meet people, engage with people, have receptions. I mean, I think the palace was overwhelmed almost towards the end of last year by the number of receptions that the King had wanted to cause to happen, to meet people. So I think that he will find great positivity and a way to carry on what he enjoys doing as King, supporting the nation despite this.
Yeah, and countless public duties he would have had prepared and planned for him, Rhiannon. So a real impact on the other royals.
Oh, yeah, don't forget that every year they're planning engagements months and months in advance. Of course, there's always kind of the standard fixtures that you would see throughout a royal year. But add on to that the special patronages or charities that the King or Queen want to specifically say thank you to or take part in some kind of anniversary or celebration. And in essence, that kind of list of engagements has to be sort of ripped up for now. There will be some, of course, that other members of the family will be able to pick up, but I think there'll be others that he will want to carry out himself. But just last week, we saw the Queen. She picked him up from hospital on the Monday, and then every day last week, she was out and about doing some kind of engagement, whether it was in Cambridge or Bath or Windsor. She's been incredibly busy, and I have to say, she didn't let on at all that anything more was wrong. I suspect this week she may have a quieter week, but then she will, we're told, get back to the public engagements, because I think they realise there continues to be this buzz around royal visits. When the King himself came out of hospital, I think he more slowly walked from the hospital door to his car because he could see there were crowds around. He wanted to wave and greet the people who'd come out to see him. As Alastair was saying, it's going to be really frustrating for him that he's not able to get out and meet and greet members of the public. It does now, I think, put a bit more pressure, of course, on Prince William as well. We know that the Princess of Wales is also having her own medical treatment at the moment. She's currently at home resting in Windsor. So I think for Prince William as well, there's now that balancing act of supporting his wife, but also supporting his father. And we understand that Prince William is in regular contact with his father. And as heir to the throne, of course, some of those responsibilities are now going to pass to him, those that his father can't do, which just seem to be too public-facing, if you like.
Alastair, the Queen, Camilla, a very central role now, not in terms of public duty, though that is true, but also simply by the King's side.
Well, the King takes enormous reassurance from the Queen, and they're a great team. And I'm sure that in this time of some medical trial, the Queen will be brilliant at keeping the King focused. I sense that one of the areas the Queen has found her skills less able is trying to stop the King working too hard. Well, I expect now, with the help of the doctors, she may well even achieve that, because I think the King will know he needs to adjust his workflow just to make sure that his body can recover properly. But both of them are supported, of course, by the Prince of Wales, in due course by the Princess of Wales. And then there is the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal. But apart from the distant cousins of the Kents and the Gloucesters who do some of the work, there is going to have to be quite a lot of effort put in to make sure that the king's presence is felt through the family. And that was always the purpose of a royal family, was to make sure that the monarch of the day is felt in different parts of national and Commonwealth life through members of the royal family. But there is a huge amount to be done in order for that to be real and effective. And I think that also with the unsteadiness of peace in the world and the recognition that the armed forces look to the king as head of state, I expect that it'll be a source of some concern in the coming months that the king will be less able to reach out and be the figurehead and, as it were, commander-in-chief to all of those who are getting themselves trained and ready to defend whatever may or may not come.
Rhiannon, let's talk about Harry. Sources close to Harry, is what they're saying, are saying that he has spoken to the king about the diagnosis and that he will be coming over to see him in the next few days.
All I can say is it's certainly a surprise after the difficulties that have gone between father and son. Of course, Harry in the last 12 months has released a book. He's had his own docuseries, none of which has been particularly complimentary about members of his family. However, I think this is one instance where, like many families around the world, when it comes to this kind of diagnosis, then I think differences are put to one side. And I think that's what we're seeing here, a sense of a son who's spoken to his father and wants to make sure that he can be any support that he possibly can. It's difficult, isn't it, for any family that's facing a cancer diagnosis. There's the shock, and then there's working out how you all rally round and support the individual who needs treatment. Of course, for us at the moment, it's difficult to know what potential side effects there may be for the king as he has this treatment. But yeah, I think the fact that the Duke of Sussex is saying, look, I'm going to come over and see my father, I think, like many families, putting differences to one side and just rallying round and being there for one another, I think is the key at the moment.
Final word from you, Alastair. Could this be, do you think, relations have been difficult, could this be a moment of rapprochement?
I have no idea, but what I do know is that, there's always room for families to talk. And I think when someone is facing the vulnerability of the dreaded word cancer, that hopefully can be a catalyst to whatever is most positive.
OK, thank you both very much indeed. We wish the King well, clearly, and that is it for the Daily today. We'll have more on this tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening.